Hi, welcome back to Virtually Sunday. My name's Tony Pickler. This weekend we celebrate Christ the King Sunday, a Sunday where we think about how Jesus reigns in our hearts and in our world and in our lives. And that got me to thinking about three brushes with royalty that I've had in my lifetime, what I would consider royalty. And the first one was a number of years ago, probably 15 or so. I was in the Detroit airport. I was there to teach a class at the seminary in Detroit. And I was getting my luggage and I was waiting for the carousel to go around. And all of a sudden I saw a commotion over to my left and there was all kinds of people gathered around something or someone. And so I kind of moseyed over there since my luggage wasn't coming anyway. And there I saw, right before my very eyes, Muhammad Ali, 10, 15 feet away from me. The greatest of all time in terms of boxers, one of the most recognizable figures in the history of our world. Muhammad Ali, a king, royalty, greatness. More recently, just a month ago or so, I met Michael Jordan. I was on the 15th hole of Whistling Straits for the Ryder Cup, and my job as a marshal there was to watch over the hole. And it just so happened there weren't very many people at that time around, nor any players, and so it was kind of peaceful and quiet. And all of a sudden, this golf cart pulled up behind me, and there's four guys all smoking cigars and seemingly having a good time. And I turned, and there was Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, arguably, and really a king on the basketball court. We said hi, and he told me how much he loved the hole, and then I wished him well. So a brush with greatness, Michael Jordan. And then a number of years ago, I was just out of school a year or so. I was living with my brother for about a month before we got married, and I was doing some painting for him. And one Friday, I was done with my painting job, and I wanted to go down to Fuzzy's Bar down on Riverside at the time, Riverside Drive here in Green Bay. And I wanted to keep my eyes open for Packer players, former Packer players, who I knew kind of frequented the bar because Fuzzy would be there. And so I went down, I sat on a bar stool, and there was this guy who came and sat next to me, and he was probably 55, 60 years old at the time. And what I found unique about him is that every time he spoke, he would put a finger up to his throat because he had a hole in his throat. He had a stoma, and that's how he could communicate. And he had a great sense of humor and told fantastic stories. And so that later that afternoon, I went back to my brother's house and I said, geez, I really didn't see any former Packer players, but there was this really interesting guy who sat right next to me on the bar stool, and he had really great stories, but every time he would tell a story or a joke, he would put his finger up to a hole in his throat. And my brother, his eyes got kind of wide, and he said, Tony, that guy is like Packer royalty. He's a Hall of Famer. His name's Fuzzy Thurston, number 63, a guard in the glory years of the Packers. So I was sitting right next to greatness, and I didn't even realize it. Greatness right in front of me, right next to me, right in my midst, and I didn't recognize it. Well, this weekend in the second reading from the book of Revelation, we have this great line in this reading. John, the author, says that Christ has made us into a kingdom and that we are all priests. Isn't that what our baptism is about for those who are baptized? That we are priest, prophet, and get this last one, king, just like Jesus. Jesus was priest, prophet, king. We're priest, prophet, king as we try to emulate and live his lifestyle. Matthew 25 is the namesake gospel for our organization, Whatsoever You Do Incorporated. And it says that whenever we give drink to the thirsty, whenever we feed the hungry, whenever we clothe the naked, whenever we visit the sick or the imprisoned, whenever we welcome the stranger, we do this for Christ. So do we recognize the kingship of each person we meet? Do we see Christ in that person? Do we see the royalty that they represent and that they deserve? In other words, do we treat each person that we meet like a king or a queen? This Sunday's readings challenge us to do just that, to recognize Christ in our midst, to recognize the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, who might be sitting next to us on a bar stool, Might be the person across the food line that we're serving at a homeless shelter. Might be the person sitting next to us in church. Might be the person that we're working right next to in our business place. Might be the person sitting next to us in school. The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords is in our midst. Do we recognize and celebrate that royalty? God bless you and have a great week.